There are over 500,000 kids in foster care across the United States, and making sure they're well taken care of takes a village. I'm Erin Lindstrom, and this is Foster Care Aware, a production brought to you by Tidewater Friends of Foster Care with support from the Barry Robinson Center. If you've had it on your heart to become a foster parent, volunteer, donor, advocate, or just want to learn more, you're in the right place. For more information on how to move forward, head to fostercareaware.org/next steps. And now I'm thrilled to share today's segment with you. Hey, I am Erin Lindstrom, and I am joined by Audra Bullock, the President and Director of Tidewater Friends of Foster Care, and Karen Opie, the Resource Supervisor at Norfolk Department of Human Services. Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to chat. To start us off, can you tell a little bit about the need for foster parents in Norfolk and about how many kids are in care?
Certainly. Norfolk has a huge need for foster parents. We currently have somewhere around 210 children in care as we speak, and they unfortunately don't stop coming. Norfolk, we have 75 licensed homes that are through the city of Norfolk, through us, my department. And otherwise they end up going to private agencies, which is fine, but my goal has always been to have as many homes in Norfolk as I can have, so that we have that relationship with the parents to have our children in their homes.
That's an incredible disparity between the number of kids in care and the number of homes you have. So tell us about what you're looking for out of a foster home. What makes a successful foster parent?
Okay. I think the first thing that makes a successful foster parent is a person whose heart is to give and who's willing to be flexible, who's willing to love children enough to hold on to them and give them everything they can while they have them, and then still let them go if reunification becomes viable for kids. Foster parents need to be able to work with us be part of the team and love on these kids and give them everything that they need while they're in their home.
Yeah, that can be challenging. And I think that's probably the barrier, right, that most people have when they thought about foster care is letting the children go. Talk to us a little bit about, how parents can kind of overcome that. What are strategies that you teach on doing that? Sure.
So parents do go through quite a bit of training, both before they become foster parents and then throughout the process of being a foster parent. And we are there to support you and help in any way that we can. I think that the most successful parents with reunification have the, again, right attitude from the beginning, that their goal is to provide these kids with everything they can while they have them, and that they bond in some way or another with the biological family. We have so many reunification cases where the biological family, whether it was parents or fictive kin or cousins or whoever, and the foster parents are able to form a bond. They're able to communicate with each other. Foster parents, many of them, continue to support, babysit, and deal with these kids after they've gone home, so that the children have a continuity with that, so that both sets of caregivers can understand where the children are. Children don't have to feel like they're being abruptly moved from one thing to the next. So our most successful reunifications are absolutely the ones where the foster parent and the biological family are willing to work together. It's not a contest, and that children can never have too many people who love them and care for them. And if everyone has that mentality, it's the most successful.
Right. And we know from talking with our friends at the Casey family programs that the data supports that is in the best interest of the children. They do better when that scenario is the case. And so it's almost a kind of a new child welfare model that we're going into to support these birth family, foster family relationships.
Correct. It is new.
Yeah. So tell us, you've worked both in public and private agencies. Tell us what the difference is between, you mentioned a private agency versus licensing, for example, with the city of Norfolk.
Sure. At the end of the day, when you have children in your home, it's probably not that different. One of the biggest differences if you work for a city is that we do have a lot of people who prefer to work with younger children. They often do not end up going to the private agencies because we have homes within the city that are able to maintain them. So if you are interested in working with younger children, that's a big advantage to go ahead and come to the city agency. I think you have less people involved in your home when you work directly for the city, because we have custody of the children. When they go to a private agency, you have the custodian still, who's the legal guardian, and then additionally a case manager and other people involved through the privates. Now, for some kids, that's a plus, honestly, because they need those services, and it's a positive thing. So I think that it's really between what the foster family feels the most comfortable with. I want as many people as possible versus the least amount of people that I can do to help with these kids, and the age range and kind of behaviors that they're willing to work with.
Right. So Moon, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that all local private agencies are therapeutic, provide therapeutic foster care. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the difference between that and regular foster care is really predicated on the training that you have, the behavioral issues potentially that you're able to or expected to deal with. Is that fair?
Yes. There are many times, I'm going to be honest with you, that the difference is the line is very thin.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a matter of what kind of home can we find that will take these children on. With the more difficult children, yes, because of the case management piece that the private agencies can provide, that's an additional thing for that. As far as actual foster parent training, I think it's very similar between
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the training, can you tell us a little bit about the training process, the licensing process, and what parents can expect from, hey, I'm interested, to, okay, now I have a child in my home?
Absolutely. In the city of Norfolk, we do most of our training on Saturdays. We do have some evening classes. And I'll be real honest, with everything that's going on right now, we're going to be probably coming up with a few other things. I have a pretty long list that's growing of people who have been interested that I haven't been able to work with yet, because of the pandemic that we're dealing with. But as a rule, when someone they would contact me, let me know they're interested. I would send them out a little bit of informational, paperwork to get started on. We hold our classes, like I said, most of the time it's 4 Saturdays that parents would come from like 9 to 2. So there's a lot of in-person training that I think is very useful, very helpful, and very good information. Additionally, there's some online classes that parents are enrolled in and can take in order to do that. So once all of those criteria are met, those trainings, someone from my team comes out to their home and does what's called a home study. People get kind of nervous about that. They think they're supposed to bleach everything in their house and make it perfect. And that the point of a home study is for us to get to know you, to understand where your heart is and the kind of child that we think would match best with your home, to make sure the bed space is appropriate, to make sure, it's very rare that we actually just turn people down. There's issues that might come up for that, but more likely it's about, you said that you have 5 beds, and that's wonderful, but you've never had children in your home. Maybe we'll start off with licensing you for 2 kids, for a sibling group that might need you. And let's get a little seasoned first before we threw 5 kids into your home, just to kind of make sure. We try to get to know parents, their own personal things. Everybody has things that they come with that can really add to their ability to work with certain kinds of kids and subtract from their ability to work with other kinds of kids. So we try hard to get to know people the best we can so that we make the best match. The ultimate goal being that when children are placed in your home, that's the only home they're placed in until they either go home or are able to be adopted. We try very hard for our children not to have to move around.
Got it.
Yeah, it's so incredible when you look at the state stats on the percentage of children that have 3 or more homes while in foster care. I believe it's over 50%. Seems unacceptable as far as, a stability point, but I think that goes to the point of training and supporting foster parents and that mantra of first placement, last placement, right placement between entering care and exiting care, their permanency.
That takes us back to what Aaron's question earlier about why I would prefer to have as many homes as I could under my team, because when I know the home, I have a better feeling for the kind of children, both behaviorally, age-wise, numbers, and everything that they can handle and work with. Not that the private agencies don't try to do the same thing, but it becomes third hand, from us getting a child in to talking to them talking to that home. So the more homes that I can know personally, that my team can know personally and assess, the better I can match the children that are coming into our care.
Got it. Karen, can you talk a little bit about so once your home is open, you're kind of like in the process of letting Norfolk Department of Human Services in and really getting to know each other so you can be matching on that quality match. What happens as far as like training and support once the child is in the home?
Okay, I think we do personally, I think we do a great job in Norfolk. Every home that's open has a resource worker that's attached to them. That's part of my team. So, and we come out to your home at least every quarter and more often if we need to, both to provide support and training, to check in and see what you're doing. And that's additional and separate from the worker that's going to be attached to the child that's placed in your home, who's also there to support you and give you training. We offer ongoing training throughout the year. A lot of it's digital at this point. We do a lot of I send out a monthly article, send out things to parents, give them opportunities throughout the area in Hampton Roads. We always let them know lots of trainings that are being offered. Tidewater Friends actually put on a great training at the beginning of this year that we, offered to our parents to do. So we offer as many opportunities as we possibly can, both online and in person, where parents can grow, learn new things, find out more, and attach to each other as well so that they can work with each other. Got it.
And then as far as adoption, this comes up a lot in questions because people, some people completely understand that reunification is, of course, the number one goal.
Right.
And when that's not possible, can you talk a little bit about the potential for adoption within foster care in Norfolk?
Sure. So in the state of Virginia, not just in Norfolk, the first goal of a child in care is always return home. The state standard says that has to be the goal for at least a year, barring some real specific issues. And usually it's way longer than a year, where there's work being done with the biological family, whether it is the mother, father, or again, aunt, grandma, cousin, or anybody else that might possibly be related to this child and involved and want to work with them. Mm-hmm. If all of those are exhausted and there are no available relatives for these children that come in, if termination of parental rights does occur within the court, then we hope that the home that the child is already in is available to adopt them. So what I tell anyone who calls, because pretty often people will call me and they're not able to have children of their own, or they were able to have children of their own, but they also wanted to adopt. I mean, either way is okay. And they say, I just want to adopt some children. And what anyone coming through any of our agencies, particularly public agencies, needs to know is that you have to be a foster parent first. And you have to, again, have the mentality of, I will love on these children and care for these children, do everything I can for them, and support reunification, and then be available for adoption if they go home. We did have 30 finalized adoptions in 2019 that we celebrated. So it absolutely happens, and it's a wonderful thing when it does, but it can't come before the availability of children going home. All the research everywhere shows that children do better when raised in their families, if possible, if the families are eligible, able, capable of doing that. So anyone who wants to adopt just needs to be very aware of that and be clear that they have to be able to work both sides. And it's not easy to do. You love a child, they live in your home, particularly, any child, but say it's a baby who comes into your home and you're raising them. Nobody says it's going to be, oh, no problem at all, I'll just hand them right back. It's going to be hard. It's probably one of the hardest things foster parents have to do, but we do our best to support and train you so that you are prepared.
Yeah. Can you speak about that a little bit? So obviously you've been doing this, I know, was it over 20 years?
Unfortunately, yes.
But really, I know so many people are afraid of taking the next step because they are afraid of the pain and the grief that they're going to have to process, right? By attaching and then detaching, potentially. And I imagine you've seen thousands of kids come through the system at this point, right? And I imagine that comes with your own heartache as someone who's, in this world every day. Can you just speak a little bit about how, where does the strength come to kind of keep going and showing up? And what do you say to parents who are kind of on that edge and afraid of the pain?
What I would say to any parent is that anything you can give to the child while they're in your home is worth it. So I'll go back to the baby thing that I was saying. If infants are loved and cared for and secure, they're still forming that attachment. You're still giving them so much for their lives. And it's not easy. Biological parenting isn't easy either. There's lots of loss and heartache that comes along with that as well. If you're coming into foster care for I guess what I would call the right reasons, which is to care for children and to give them what they need, you have to find the strength within yourself, within us, to help you to support them. And again, if you have come at this in the right way and you've formed a relationship with the family, then you're not necessarily just saying goodbye to that child. They're not in your home for a year and then they're just gone. You're supporting them. And I have many foster parents who are routinely still seeing these children, babysitting for them, caring for them. I don't have a magic wand to make it easy, like, that, oh, it's no problem. And again, I don't want to sound cliche. I don't want to use somebody else's words, but love isn't easy in any form that it does. And love sometimes comes along with some hurt, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. It doesn't mean that children aren't worthy of the love that you can give them while they're in your home. And it doesn't mean that you're not able to regroup and move on from there, and that hopefully the child who is meant to be yours will end up being yours at some point in the future.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a model of families helping families and coming together for the better of these children. I think that's incredible. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, absolutely. So Karen, if people are listening to this and want to take next steps, learn more about fostering through Norfolk, where should they go? What's that next step they should take?
Contact me. They can call me. Did I say my phone number? 664-7751. They can email me at karen.opie@norfolk.gov. Right now, like I said, we're kind of in a holding pattern, but I am trying to get people started. I've sent people some extra paperwork. I've enrolled some people in some of the online stuff while we're kind of waiting out life at this moment in time. But they can contact. I'm always available by phone or by email to try to walk people through the steps, to try to make people understand where we are and to support what's best for them.
And I want to add just one last thing about foster care in Norfolk, because I am a Norfolk foster parent. If we look at a statewide perspective, we know that Richmond City has the highest number of kids in care. But between Norfolk and Virginia Beach, it bounces number 2 in the state. Yep. 200 plus kids is a lot of kids to have in care, and particularly for Norfolk on a per capita basis, it's extremely high. So I know the need there is very great for foster parents. So for those people who are considering foster parenting that live around Norfolk, I would encourage you to help out the city of Norfolk so that kids can stay in their home region as much as possible.
I was going to say that anywhere in Hampton Roads that parents are, we do license parents in all the Hampton Roads areas. We don't want to go too far beyond that because of visitation and being able to reunify with their families eventually. And obviously, the closer in Norfolk, sometimes the better, but that is a question I get pretty often. And I do have homes, in Suffolk and Virginia Beach and Portsmouth, and even a few on the peninsula as well. So if you're interested, please feel free to call me.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here, Karen. And thank you for the work that you're doing in our community.
Yes. Thank you, Karen.
Thanks.
And a big thank you for listening. Foster Care Aware is all about spreading the word about how we can help the kids who are in care in whatever capacity works for you. Tidewater Friends of Foster Care is here to help support you through the journey. Whether you want to be a foster parent, volunteer, donor, or advocate, head on over to fostercareaware.org/nextsteps to learn more.